That looks like it might hurt on a Wednesday. That looks like it might hurt on a Tuesday. That looks like it might hurt on a Thursday. That looks like it might hurt on a fourth day. I think I'm tapping out. My stomach is on fire right now. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm coming to you live right now from New York City, and during the 4 months here that I've lived here, I tried a lot of really good food, but I also tried to try the worst food in New York City, and I think I did that to some degree of success. And so today I wanted to sit down and recap all the bad food that I tried here in New York City to you, so you can see it in one giant video. I'm not doing this because those videos got a lot of views. Definitely not the reason that I'm doing this. Also, I wanted to send a huge shout out to a guy named Philip Solo TV. He's kind of the originator of these sort of videos, or at least this last wave of trends for these videos of like worst food, worst this, worst that. I reached out to him when I first got to New York and I asked him if I could kind of take some inspiration from what he did and use that to create my own series, and you can see by these screenshots, he gave me his blessing. So thanks again to Philip, and let's jump into the first food, worst food that we tried here in New York City. So I titled this video Eating the Worst Reviewed Restaurant in New York City because this is at the time that I couldn't really find a general way to locate the worst food in New York City. I was looking for anything below 2 stars. I had to really dig under Google Maps and find things that weren't even being popped up. So this restaurant was a Chinese restaurant, and it was found in East Harlem, New York City. And the funny thing about this video too is that when we started recording it, like the first half of the video didn't even record to my SD card for some reason. We actually start eating the food, we're already like maybe 2-3 minutes into eating it. The food was abhorrent. It was horrible tasting. Now it didn't have any long-term effects, like it didn't make me sick, but it felt like something that if you continuously kept eating, it would definitely make you sick. I didn't have any of the actual inside of the dumplings. The outside casing of the dumplings was disgusting and moist and soggy. The beef, teriyaki beef, felt like it was soaked in water. It just felt like it was waterlogged beef. It was really, really bad. And the orange chicken was somewhat doable, but it almost tasted a little bit mucusy. It was like the orange sauce wasn't sitting well, it almost like congealed over it. The one thing I won't forget from this restaurant is the broccoli, and that's because it had this horrible taste of freezer burn, unlike any other broccoli freezer burn I've ever had. A lot of times when you have mixed vegetables from the freezer, they have a little bit of like a freezer taste, and these were just, these are horrible. Eating at this restaurant was a fun experience, but it was really just the beginnings of what was to come with this worst food series, because I saw so many people really enjoyed this sort of video. I was like, okay, let's theme this. Let's see if we can try to focus on more of a theme with these worst food videos. And so the obvious next contender for worst food in New York City would be something that's classically New York, and that's pizza. So we went out and sought out the worst pizza in New York City, and I can tell you this was probably, out of the worst food series, the tamest episode. The thing is, when you live in New York, you get spoiled by how good the pizza is, whether it's just dollar slices or, you know, more expensive pies. There's just so much good pizza around. It's really quite surprising how a bad pizza place can survive, especially in areas like Midtown, which is where our first pizza place was. Our first pizza place was smack dab in the middle of Times Square. I had seen horrible reviews of it online. It is a chain pizza store, and I was basically reading that they like sometimes give you frozen pizza and it's just not cooked well. The customer service in there was bad. I remember walking in and ordering the pizza. I was like scared for my life. I felt threatened. So that was kind of the first quarrel with this place. But once we actually got the pizza and tasted it, it was, oh my god, it was really bad. It tasted like cardboard. The cheese was horrible, the sauce was horrible. It literally tasted like it had been taken out of the freezer, popped into the oven. Nothing about it was fresh, and it's a little bit surprising because a lot of these dollar pizza places, they make it fresh in front of you. Here, it literally felt like they pulled a slice out of a freezer, popped it into a microwave, and handed it to you. So just not a good pizza place overall. I would not recommend it. The second pizza place we went to was in Tribeca, and I think it was around $5 or $6 for a slice, something like that, and it just tasted very average. It wasn't good. We didn't hate it. It was just very average pizza, and it shouldn't have been priced as much as it is. So it just kind of felt like a ripoff, and it was kind of cool to show that off. And our last pizza place was an actual beloved pizza chain here in New York City called Two Bros Pizza. They make dollar slice pizzas. I personally tried them the first time I came to New York City, and I really didn't like them that much, but the second time around we tasted it was at the end of the day. We had 5 people as a kind of like a focus group. Everybody agreed the pizza was way too salty. It was like horribly salty. It tasted like they put a pound of salt in there, and it was just gross. Once again, there are so many good dollar slice pizzas out there that it felt bad to settle for that one. But that being said, a lot of people do enjoy Two Bros pizza, so it kind of feels bad to like even judge it. Moving on, we're gonna rank this one as kind of our third worst. We got eating the worst soul food in New York City. Now, soul food is really hard to mess up, I think, in my opinion. It's really good food. Soul food is awesome. Now, the problem with this is when I started ordering foods to Jacob's house. Part of the process was getting these things delivered, as well as the price of getting them delivered and how they would arrive on time. So I believe this one came actually pretty late. As well, I remember when I called the first time, they were out of a bunch of things on the menu. But lo and behold, we got it. I remember a few things that were just absolutely disgusting. We got this cotton candy milkshake that tasted like a sour, expired yogurt milk drink that had like strawberry bits and pulp at the bottom of it. It was just really disgusting. As well, from this batch, there was the corned beef hash, which was so freaking gross. It was turd. That's what it looked like, just a turd. It smelled bad, looked bad. It was just all over the place. As well, I remember we got some like overcooked sliders from this place, which were average. I think they were pretty cheap, so it didn't really matter, but it just tasted like they've been sitting out for a while. As well, at this soul food place, we wanted like cheese covered broccoli, and basically just microwave cheese on some crappy pieces of broccoli. So yeah, the worst soul food wasn't the worst, but what's coming up next was really, really bad. So the second worst is the one I made right before the last one, which actually gave me food poisoning, which we're gonna get into because they got our #1 spot. This was the worst Mexican food in New York City. Now, I love Mexican food. I've been to Mexico many, many times. Anyhow, we started this video off at Jacob's house, again, ordering the food. The ordering process for this food was the funniest by far because they were 3 hours late. They accepted my order. I spent like 3 hours online with customer service, calling them every hour on the hour, trying to get this food, but I was obviously insistent on receiving it, and it was so expensive. I think the whole meal was like 60 bucks or something. It was really, really expensive. I think I also did end up getting a partial refund because they left a lot of things out of my order. Moving on though, we got just garbage food. It was so bad looking. I remember I asked on the phone particularly to have a quesadilla without chicken, which shouldn't be hard to do because you have the cheese and the tortilla separate, so you wouldn't have to put chicken in there. They sent it with a piece of chicken inside. As well, the tacos just felt like all the meat had freezer burn and had been sitting out, was very dry, it was very gross. All the tortillas tasted so nasty and old. I would not be surprised if some of them had mold in them and I was eating with mold. It just tasted like expired tortillas that had been sitting out for a very long time. As well, I wanted to explore the weirder items on the menu at these places, so I ordered a hamburger, and the hamburger was so gross. I remember we opened the hamburger, the top bun and the meat had been almost like glued together. It really felt like they had made this burger days ago, put it in like a freezer or refrigerator, just left it in there, and then just sent it my way without even defrosting it. They just let it thaw on the way out. It was disgusting. I think the French fries were the only normal tasting thing here. Still tasted pretty bad for French fries, which is weird because you can't really mess up French fries. Oh, and also they had this weird French toast thing on the menu, which I got, and partially toasted on one part of the bread. Wasn't toasted all the way through, and so the butter was really super greasy in the middle, and it just wasn't toast. It was just wet bread. Anyways, after the Mexican food, I felt like I learned my lesson. I was like, I might do one more of these, and then I came across a super low rated Indian restaurant. Said people got food poisoning from it. I didn't know what to do in this situation because I was like, I can make this really good video that a lot of people are gonna want to see. So I went for it. So we ordered the worst Indian food in New York City. It was $50 for the whole thing. We got a bunch of food, a bunch of different menu items. I honestly can't even remember the pronunciations and what each menu thing was called. And I was also, essentially, the food tasted average. It tasted okay. The food didn't taste particularly bad. I remember specifically, I think it was the goat korma is what it was called. Just tasted like grass. Like you could taste the meat. The meat just had a weird flavor. It just didn't taste very good. But everything else was kind of like decent. I think we got a chicken tikka masala. It tasted fine. Nothing was really bad. But we ate everything. And I want to clarify as well, a lot of people had this conception that everything was really spicy. It wasn't spicy. Most of the things in there were not spicy at all. I think everything we got was relatively sweet and it just kind of tasted average. And then what happened next after the meal was over, I think it was 15 minutes in, my stomach started rumbling a little bit and I didn't think anything of it because my friend Jacob was eating it right beside me as well. And a lot of you guys didn't believe, you guys thought I was faking it in this video. But the things that came out of my butt that night, I spent I think 3 or 4 hours on the toilet at Jacob's house. I got really sick. I had full-blown food poisoning. Luckily, it wasn't the type of food poisoning that makes you puke. Luckily, it wasn't the type of food poisoning that makes it come out of your mouth. Like 2-3 days of my stomach normalizing. I feel like I lost, but I had trouble eating for the next few days after that, and it was just really bad. Jacob drank some beer before, and he claims that's the reason why he didn't get sick, because the alcohol kind of cleansed his stomach lining. Whether or not that holds up or not, I don't know. A lot of people agreed with him. I looked it up online. It does have some sort of validity behind it. So maybe it was that. Maybe the food wasn't bad. Maybe my stomach couldn't handle it, but I've eaten Indian food plenty of times in my life, so it'd be weird if I couldn't all of a sudden handle it. But this was just, it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was like, I'm ending this series, at least food-wise for now. I can't do any more worst food videos. After that, I'd still been scouting. I actually found the worst sushi restaurant and a few other worst foods around New York City that I might have thought of doing, but I don't know, guys. I just don't know if it's worth risking my health. I might do a couple again in the future, especially when I go back home to Miami for a little bit, but I think for now in New York City, I accomplished what I wanted to. We did 5 worst food videos, the last one giving me food poisoning, and I think that was a good place to end it off. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have made plenty of content in New York City, a bunch of videos about travel guides, worst subway stations, best subway stations, a bunch of different things. So please, if you are new here, check out some of my other videos that I've made about New York City, especially if you're traveling here for the first time. I've made guides about the whole city. And also, if you want to support this channel, you can buy some of my merchandise down below in the description or on screen right now. And I think that's all for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you long time, Clats. Goodbye.